I, however, am fairly decent at Martinsville, and I know that if there are 3 people that I know I'm going to have to beat this weekend, 2 of them are 7th and 8th.
You're decent there?
You're
The following is a production of Dirty Mo Media.
Hey guys, welcome to Actions Detrimental. Post Talladega, the middle race of the round of 8. We got 2 to go. 2 to go. Counting down. I'm getting tired.
How do you balance?
I'm getting tired.
You got this championship you're fighting for, but also for 38 weeks you're just going and need that rest.
I'm tired. I mean, last week was a good off week for me. But still, I don't know what's going on lately, but I'm sleeping a lot and then waking up far more tired than I was when I went to bed. I have this Whoop that kind of monitors my sleep, and I'm getting ample sleep, plenty of sleep, and I'm even showing in the green. But golly, it's my sleep's not good or something. Maybe it's too good.
Do 3 kids have anything to do with this?
Not really. Not really. I think it's just the grind. It's just, we're at the point of the season. This is how many straight weeks? 20 something.
Oh yeah, because off week was in.
Not for me though.
Not for you. No, but the off week was Easter this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Sheesh. Okay. Well, Talladega was, I thought, typical. I don't know. I thought the end was predictable. I mean, if you looked over the last few Talladega races and kind of the track trends, it hasn't been a crazy wreck fest like we've had.
You get one.
Yeah, you get one multi-car 4, 5 to 7, and then it doesn't happen.
We almost had one, but somehow Buescher was a solo.
Yeah, that definitely could have been another one. But it turned out that was just one. But it's I thought it was a pretty typical Talladega race. A lot of fuel saving going on for the larger chunk of the race, especially the reason that we do save fuel is that we're trying to make the pit stop under green as short as possible. So we try to save fuel. And the reason is that, wouldn't track position over supersede fuel? The answer would be no, because when the pack is only separated by 1.5 seconds, someone that can save, 10% more gas, that's, a couple seconds in pit road, so it can leapfrog you from being at the very tail to all the way at the front. And then there's a lot of other factors that play into it as well. How good you get on and off of pit road, plays a factor. How good you get in your pit box. All those things matter. But yeah, it's typically these races are mostly fuel mileage, mostly execution of how you do on pit lane. And then it's the very end, it's who can, master or guess right on the lanes that are going to go at certain times. And so I thought the end of the race was exciting and certainly saw a lot of storylines up there. The Toyotas made a great run. They had their line going there at the end, I think leading with Bubba, Chase, and Ty. Those 3 together was really getting a line going and moving. And they found themselves at the front. The 19 of Chase Briscoe found himself up front at the end, winning the race and moving on to the championship 4.
It was interesting is Chase even said he was okay just to keep pushing Bubba.
Yeah. He thought, that was the fastest, best way for him to finish, likely because due to the points, he had won stage 2, correct?
Yeah.
Or 1 or 2. He was likely going to be in a pretty much locked in scenario anyway. I didn't see the points live. I didn't go back and see it, But I figure even if he finishes in the top 2 or 3 there, he's probably in a very, very good points position. So he was probably going to be okay with that result. But I think what happened is Bubba pulled down.
No, Bubba didn't move down, right?
Bubba didn't move down. Larson ran out of fuel, which
That's
opened
right.
up that bottom lane.
Yep. Larson pulled down in front of Bubba. Is that what it was? And then Bubba lost the guy that was in front of him?
No, Bubba was in the top lane.
I think he
the
could
whole
have
time,
moved
right?
down, and he didn't, and then Briscoe did, I think.
Yeah, and then Ty went with Briscoe and Dillon filled in behind Bubba.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just a lot of chain of events there. And I certainly thought that when the 5 lost fuel, it was that definitely changed the complexion of how the end of the race played out, just simply because whoever was in that line, you lose a car, and so your line automatically goes a little bit slower, but then then you've got to get the line reorganized. So you've lost your leader of that line. There now needs to be a new leader, and then the others have their responsibilities to keep that line moving. So I thought that was just a inopportune time for those that were in Kyle Larson's line for it to work out for him.
And ultimately, I think you can go back and watch the replay and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's a big reason why Briscoe ended up winning this race, because Bubba's line, the top line, falls apart coming off turn 4. I don't know what happens to SVG here or Reddick, but the top line just completely falls apart, and Bubba has no push from Dillon.
It seems like the trend is, if I'm kind of thinking back, I remember Ross Chastain winning a Talladega race once where he didn't really do anything but just stayed on the bottom line, and he let the others fight up top. And what happens is that yellow line is your friend, especially off of turn 4. The yellow line is your friend because no one can go left of you. And then to the right, if those guys try to go to the right, and the track is so wide that they end up not pushing each other, or they end up just fanning out. Well, then whoever just stays in line and most organized on the bottom, typically that line lunges to the start-finish line the best. And it's not every time, but it just seems more times than not that the organization of the bottom, because they're pinned in there, helps that line go.
Yeah, if you were to go back here, it's when the bottom line falls out on the backstretch. If you're driving the 23 car, do you just stay where you are, or do you try to move down to that bottom line if you're trying to win the race?
It looks like he wanted to stay middle there. Like he didn't want to go to the bottom and then just let Chase go by on the outside. So truthfully, the 23 did what probably I would have done, and that is, if you want to go to the bottom, go ahead. But I'm
going around you no matter what.
I'm going to stay my line, know that help is coming, because Chase made the decision to ultimately, you know what, screw it, I'm going for the lead here. The issue is that for the 23 is that the 19 had the 54 behind him, who followed his teammate as he should. And so it still was like ample opportunity for either one of those cars to win, but it's just the bottom lane. If you look off of turn 4, they were more organized, and the top was still trying to figure out, all right, are we going to go 2 wide, 3 wide?
Right.
And so it allowed them to just push out there just enough. And so, the race winning move was made by Chase to, I'm pulling out on the 23 here. And I think it was the right move for him. And I think the 23 made the right move for him. And that is, I'm staying my line. I want to be the top. I want to be the leader of the top line.
Is this also smart by Briscoe? Because if he goes down, Bubba, a Toyota, has the top line. He's down in front of Byron. So now he kind of hedges his bets there.
That's right. You are. You're hedging your bet, no doubt. Which is why we saw the Hendrick cars line up, not nose to tail, but hey, let's just control both lines. More than likely, they're thinking, okay, well, the 5 or the 24 is going to win this race. Usually, if you got both lines covered, in a green-white checkered, a third line is not really going to have time to form and get up there. So you're essentially liking your chances of winning if you just go ahead and let those two race it out. Whoever gets the best push wins.
So teammate Ty Gibbs with the the big move.
Yeah, it's good to see, and a lot of it is he was definitely boxed in there. I don't know where I don't think he had a lot of options, but he did have the option when the 19 pulled out, and that was to either stay straight and go with the 23 or push the 19. But I think that in that moment, more than likely, he was like, okay, I'm going to go with my teammate here, and end all doubt on that.
But also that would have been the potential winning move for Ty, right? Like he's got a better chance of winning this race by going with the 19 and potentially clearing the 23.
The chances are equal. I mean, when you're the second car in line, it's so 50-50 on which lane's going to push the best. But yeah, actually, I'm looking at this. The outside line the outside line fell apart because the 45 went to the outside of the 88.
Okay, so that's what happened. It wasn't
that ended all the top line's momentum. All it takes is one person in that top line to pull out and go 3 wide. I'm telling you, folks, you can't imagine at home. You're thinking everyone's wide open and we're running as quick as we can. But when you can feel inside your car and you hear the RPMs and it's singing at a certain tone, the minute someone 4 cars back of your line pulls out or gets out of line, you can instantly hear it go, like your line just dies in speed. And a lot of it is because the drag that is getting divided by 10 cars is now divided by 7 cars. And it's not going to be as fast. And so if you look, the top line actually looks like they still had a legit shot. But when the 45 pulls out of line, the whole line just goes dead ass backwards.
And that's just the benefit of being in the bottom line is that those cars can't go anywhere. They can't pull out to the bottom.
They can't go anywhere. They got nowhere to go. And so, yeah, that was a key moment, no doubt about it. But that's super speedway racing. It was whatever line stays organized the best wins, and the bottom line did it.
Well, now we've got 2 JGR cars locked into the championship for yourself and Chase Briscoe.
Yeah, it's great for Chase. He's such a good dude, and he's been a really good teammate, and really happy for him and James Small. And I know that James works really, really hard for that 19 team, and I love all their crew guys over there. Really happy for them to have this opportunity.
Does that change the amount of resources that are going into prep for your car now that you got 2 JGR cars in Phoenix?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know how soon that stuff all gets determined. What it does do, from my standpoint, it's another data point. I'm going to know what one of my competitors has. Now, the downside is one of my competitors will know what I have. When it comes to, more than likely at some point we will run each other's setups to see, what is he like? What's he going to go into this weekend with? And I'm going to probably do the same. One variable, though, for me personally, and we're all cocky and we all feel as though we're the best, is that I'm not going to get beat by equipment. You know what I mean? Or at least one of my competitors. So it puts more pressure on me to go out there and get it done.
But that was more than likely going to happen anyway. The chance of more than one JGR driver in the championship for it was fairly likely. Yeah, how we left Vegas, they were in a good points position. If they avoided getting wrecked at Talladega, they were likely going to be in a great position, and they still are. The X factor is who wins Martinsville, right? I mean, this thing looks very uninteresting from the outside. You got guys plus 36, plus 37. But I'm telling you, if someone comes from that bottom and wins this race, it becomes that complexion. The race for 4th becomes wildly entertaining. Yeah, because all day, Larson and Bell need to points race each other to make sure that neither one of them are the 4th guy in case a Blaney or Byron or Logano or Chase Elliott wins the race.
Yeah, and to be clear, Larson was okay with a Chase victory. I'm okay with a Chase victory. Bell is okay with a Chase victory. So there's four, and Chase, of course. So there's four of us that were, this is all good, no problems. Now, for me, they said, well, don't you want to know or pick or choose who's going to be in? No. I say come all. I'm going to have to beat them all to win the championship anyway. So it doesn't really matter to me who you put in that final race. Now, I think that, what I'm getting to is that if someone from the bottom four won this race today, yes, it changed that. Now Larson's in a more vulnerable spot. Briscoe, Bell, they're all in such a vulnerable spot now because a spot got taken that, it wasn't planned for. You know what I mean? You scored, you had two really, really good races and you're still right there on the cut line. So that's the whole thing with winning you're in. It's just, it's really nervous when you get someone from the bottom that wins. And so I think this was, again, Larson probably was okay with this because it still put him in a really good points position. And, talk about, I don't know, it's luck, but just crap finish of, he goes from thinking he's going to race for the win to 25th or something. Like, what a bummer.
Still better than Byron, though.
You think? Whose was more disappointing?
I think probably
Byron.
Larson's.
Y'all got two different answers. You said Byron?
Yeah.
I mean, they're both disappointing.
I would have said Larson because he's leading his line going down the backstretch. Byron, he's coming off of turn 4 thinking, all right, I'm going to finish in the top 5. So I give the nod to Larson on that, but still Byron, you got to have a little bit of sympathy.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, look where Byron sits now, though, whereas he would have been.
Where would he have been? I would have loved to have seen where
minus 15.
Just add,
where is he right now?
Minus 37.
And they said he lost 24 points. That's what they said on TV.
20-something points.
So he's right there. And then, I know we're doing this on the fly, but he would have been minus 15 to who? Bell? Yeah,
Larson.
Bell. No. Larson had more points than all of them.
I'm saying if Briscoe won and
Briscoe wins.
Larson
Then he's okay. So then he's minus 15 to both of them. Because they're essentially almost tied in points. I think plus 36, plus 37. Larson and Bell. So he would have had. He could have out. He's thinking I would have been minus 15 to those two guys. All I need is one of them to have a bad day, or not even a bad day. Like you can just beat them by a couple spots each stage, and next thing you know, you're there. So, yeah, I see your point, Trav, that it's probably Byron because now he goes from thinking at Martinsville he's got a legit shot to just run well and get in to, must win. Where Larson went from being locked, if he's 20 points more, he's locked in to now Larson's in I don't know. I think he's in a vulnerable spot. Like Chase or Blaney are the most likely of the bottom 4 to go out there and win and get themselves in. Just off of results. I'm just talking Martinsville results. I'm not downplaying Byron, Logano, any of them. I mean, Byron, I guess I could see that too. I like Byron when he plays from behind. I am a big Byron fan when he's on the offense. Defense, I don't like Byron.
For the record, I'm only saying Larson was more disappointing because I'm factoring how the race ended for these guys, right? It was Larson's situation of running out of fuel completely within the team's control, whereas
yes,
Byron
has to be.
just gets They didn't tapped wrong from behind, and
right.
That's not his control.
And so, yes, the team cut him short on fuel. They're trying to get him track position with 17 laps to go, putting in the bare minimum fuel that they need to. Now, did Larson stay in his box as long as they told him to? I don't know. These are all the details. I don't know. But either way, they didn't get enough fuel in the car to get to the finish. And really, lots of cars are probably lucky this didn't go into another green-white checkered. If you looked at the 22 and the 12, they pitted on their green-white checker, because they cut their fuel so short. We know Penske cuts their fuel way, way short. If we ever get into overtimes, 99% of the time, Penske cars will not make it. I know
unless there's 7 overtimes.
Nashville's a different. I'm talking about on super speedways. They cut it way, way short. So it and they ended up getting bit by it. They eventually the law of averages say that, okay, you can only be short so much before eventually you're going to catch a caution that's not going to be advantageous for you, and it's going to burn you. And I don't think it changed I don't think a Penske car was going to win going into that 2 laps to go. I think you saw Blaney was stuck on the bottom. Logano he actually went back to the back of the pack, did a reset. So he was...
Well, that was before the restart.
Yes, before the restart. He did a reset because he saw that his inside line was just getting murdered. We can argue on why it was getting murdered, but it was just... They just kept going back. And everyone on the top line just kept going up, pulling up in front, going up, pulling up in front. And they find themselves 10th car on the bottom. I think Logano at that point just aborted and says, okay, let me just get to the back of the back, get back to the top and reset. And they still ended up having to pit on that green-white checkered. But regardless, I know we're all over the place. I think my point is that while things look like they're pretty much in focus of who's going to be in the Final Four, you cannot undersell number 7 and 8 in points, Blaney and Elliott, as being the 2 most wildest of wild cards going into this weekend. And if that happens, then the Bell-Larson duel will be epic.
Elliott, 20 starts, 1 win. Blaney, 19 with 2 wins.
I mean, the Bell-Larson duel is going to be epic no matter what.
I hear you. I, however, am fairly decent at Martinsville, and I know that if there are 3 people that I know I'm going to have to beat this weekend, 2 of them are 7th and 8th.
I was going to add that Blaney has 10 top 5s and Elliott has 8 top 5s. So if you're right in that picture.
They are in the picture every single time.
You're decent there?
You're
Hey, this is Dale Jr., and for the latest Actions Detrimental gear, go to shop.dirtymomedia.com. We've got plenty of options for you. We're adding new stuff all the time. That's shop.dirtymomedia.com.
You were, I think, for the first time that since working with you, were animated about the car and your issues.
No, I've been animated before.
But since you've had this podcast, though, I feel like you never say anything on the radio or the podcast that in any way, shape, or form is negative about the pit crew or anything.
I don't know. I don't know if that is true. But by the way, my tone yesterday wasn't like angry or anything like that. It was just a matter of fact, like we gotta get it figured out. It's really, really frustrating because we want our results dictated by our performance on the racetrack. I'm telling you guys, nothing would absolutely suck worse than to go to Phoenix and have a mechanical or something happen that took your opportunity to achieve your dream out. And so it's just, we've had some issues with batteries and starters and clutches and just lots this year. And I had all three. and you know, I always like to, you know, how should I word this? You know, I go there and I took the week off as far as preparation for Dega is concerned. Not that I really prepare for Dega as much as I'll prepare for another racetrack. Most of my time was spent obviously on a few weeks from now. But you know, I'm thinking, well, what if we didn't win? You mean like this could have been a pivotal moment in our championship hopes? That's kind of where my frustration lied. And I don't think anyone at the shop, you know, when you look at the issues that we had, I don't think it's anyone necessarily at the race shop that is doing something wrong. You know, especially the guys that put my cars together just are phenomenal. Brandon and his whole team, like I would go to war with that A team versus anyone. It's just more of a, I don't know, just more of a mechanical issue. And it's not necessarily things that we put together that, you know, would love to see us fix. I don't know that we're going to fix it in a couple weeks, but you just hope that it doesn't play a factor when it really, really counts at the end of these races, especially the final race.
So how do you not worry about something like this that you say is kind of out of your hands?
Yeah, because I can't change it. Regardless, if it happens, it happens. It doesn't, it doesn't. But you just cross your fingers and hope that the luck gods will stay in your favor for one more week or the final week.
It also just feels like just a little reminder of like, hey,
yes,
we're in the championship. Let's just do everything in our power to remember that. Let's have everything buttoned up.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jared. Fantastic point. That like sometimes it is a good reminder that you just can't take things for granted. You know what I mean? And nobody is, you know, trying anything out of the ordinary. Or again, I don't think it's. I said the shop, but that is let me just say that's a very vague term. That's not, I don't believe these issues are in the race shop, if that makes any sense. And I'll leave it at that.
Penske's mad at Keselowski?
Penske's mad at Keselowski.
Yeah. I had to go back and look at it. I see their beef. I don't know that, like, you're not always going to have things go your way. But what their beef was that the 6 was not keeping their line moving. And we've said on this podcast many times that when you see your favorite driver in a given line and you're hoping that line goes forward, it goes way beyond that driver's responsibility. And if they're leading it, the leader of that pack is just a bystander of what happens well beyond him. And we talked about when the 45 pulled out of the top line, it killed that whole top line coming to the start finish line. Who was in front, the 22 or the 12? I think it was the 12. The 22 was doing his best to stay attached to the 12. I thought he was actually doing a really good job. The 6 always kind of had like a gap to the 22. And so he wasn't giving Joey enough of a shove to push the 12 as much as he probably wanted to. And then that goes back to, well, then I, as a competitor, because I know how this works, I'm like, okay, well, who's behind the 6? You know, and you got to kind of back it. You got to keep backing up to figure out where's the disconnect, because all it takes is one person in that line choosing to say, I don't want to go all out. I need to save fuel here. It just takes one person in that line to not be all out for that line to just not go anywhere. And so I don't know the details. it looks like to me that the 6 should have been able to keep up with the 22. He didn't for whatever reason, and I don't know if it was trying to save fuel. Maybe they were short on fuel. Maybe I look at the 60, and then, by the way, that whole nother side issue, Trav, me and you were trying to look, and I'm watching the replay on a computer like this, and I couldn't tell who the 4th car in line on the bottom was. I'm looking, and I'm like, who is that? And I'm like, that's on TV. You could not even tell what car that was.
Yeah.
That's a different tangent, but it was the 60. And so was he doing his job? Keeping the 6. He's got to stay on tight on the 6 to make sure that he takes the drag off the 6 to then he can get to the 22. And then the 22 now can be more aggressive pushing the 12 and then that line forward. There's so many factors that you would truthfully need a simulcast of someone explaining this as you're watching it for you the fans at home to understand it. But we're trying our best today to tell you all the factors and why maybe your driver didn't, their line didn't go on a given day. But that's what Penske was complaining about, is that the 6 was not staying close enough to them to keep their line moving. And Joey said something about, me and the 12 were doing our jobs, but if anyone in your line was, if they're trying to save fuel, then your line's never going to go forward. I don't know whether, maybe he was told that the 6 was saving fuel, but you said that Bullen said after the race that they weren't saving fuel.
Yeah, they were fine. He told Jordan Bianchi.
Yeah, so then I, as a driver, I would need to go back and look and see, was Keselowski wide open and during that last run, or was he laying off for a reason, or was he not getting the help that he needed?
My thing is also so what if he was saving fuel? That's not his problem. Like, it's okay for you to save fuel during the race, but at this point you don't want people to save fuel, so it's not allowed.
Well, I think what he's saying is that everyone came to pit road to get the fuel they needed. So everyone should have been fine on fuel. So there was no reason for anyone to be saving fuel inside 15 laps to go.
This just feels like general frustration. The race was going great for Penske all day, and here's the last moment that we can point to of where it turned. But truthfully, there's 10 plus laps to go. And if it wasn't this, it could have been anything that shuffled Penske out of the mix.
Jared with the A+ take again.
It's just, I don't know.
It is. It's sour grapes, but it's understandable.
They look great.
I have sympathy for it because it's like, damn it, we had control. I would feel the same way. I'm like, I'm telling you, if I were Joe, I don't know if I'd say what he said. Maybe I would. But I would feel the same way. It's like, come on, dude. Like, you got it. You can't be lagging back on me. I need you on me at all times. We have to keep this lane moving. And again, I without more information, I'm telling you the 6 was not on the 22 as much as he should have been. But I don't know whether it was his fault or not.
Yeah, it feels like there's just could have been a lot of factors involved.
Oh, do we want to get into Weepers and SVG?
Talladega is notorious from, if it rains the day before, it's usually got weepers. It's got parts of the track that water does come up. And I was in the bus when it torrential downpoured on Saturday, early Sunday morning, late Saturday night. First thing I thought of was those poor people in those tents out there. Holy cow. That was as hard a rain as I'd heard or felt in quite some time. And then when I wake up, I'm thinking, and I hear the track drying going on, my first thought was, I don't need to see it. I know that there's going to be weepers coming to pit lane, and then there's going to be a weeper on the exit of pit lane right by the start-finish line. We saw John Hunter spin out there I believe it was last race, or maybe it was 2 races ago. Same thing. He hit it on corner on pit exit, and he spun out. But then when I'm looking at it on our pace laps, I'm like, I was looking, and there was not a clear lane without hitting water somewhere. Some of it seemed like, if let's just pretend the racetrack, the yellow line, the a car width on the inside of the yellow line. Let's call that lane 1. Lane 2 is, extra car down. Lane 3 is another car down. Lane 2 was like the best for not having water, but each lane had some water. And that's just a very vulnerable part of the racetrack where we are trying to get all we can. And I talked about earlier, this is an execution race of on and off of pit road. Everyone's going to try to get all they can. And I didn't see a way that we weren't going to wreck, just simply because of the amount of water that was there. And just, there was no way to really escape it. So I was surprised that it was only a single car incident. I mean, you saw like when he was sliding, like he clipped the 24. It was actually not bad because he didn't cost the other people that much time. I mean,
he did screw up the Penske cars. NASCAR was doing their best to not throw a caution because it was in the middle and they hadn't pitted yet.
Yeah, but what they were, which they obviously made the correct call, because you can't leave the 88 sitting there in the grass, because what happens is if the Penske cars come back around, which they were going to come back around and pit, if they miss pit road at all and hit maybe the same water, they could have slid right into the 88 who was sitting there. So it was unlucky for the Penske cars. However, when I told my team early on, just FYI, someone's going to wreck coming to pit road.
At 2:26, you said that. Like, basically, the race just started.
Yeah, it's because I wanted to make sure we were the first to pit lane. That way, when the caution does come out for whoever wrecks, we'd already done our pit stop, and that cycles us to the front. That was my roundabout way of telling the team, make sure we're not last to pit road, because someone's going to wreck during it, and then we're going to end up getting caught being at the tail end because we hadn't pit yet.
Yeah, surprised, though, that it took until stage 2 for that to
surprisingly
happen? Like it wasn't the first pit entry of the day.
And a lot of it was because that was the most cars that I had seen come to pit road at one time. In the first stage, it seemed like it was broken up into 5 cars here, 6 cars there. Like that was a pack of cars. It seemed like a third of the field that came.
What happened with you and the Hendrick cars there early in the race? You were trying to get down to pit?
I was. Early in the race, I decided that I'm going to try to save fuel, which I did, and I think I went back to last.
Yeah.
Was I last? I thought I was.
Yeah.
And then I saw that the pace just slowed down so much that I'm like, I think I can drive to the front here. So just go ahead and burn the fuel, because the field had gotten spread out so much that I was probably 4 seconds behind the leader, because it had started to single file out and the field was running slow. So I'm like, well, no matter how much fuel I'm saving here, I can't make that back up with less fuel when we come to pit road. So I just said, screw it. I'm going to go ahead and go wide open here, drive to the front. We did. The downside to that is I ended up getting stuck in the top lane. And I was so close to being able to pull down. I think at the time I had Kyle Busch or somebody right in front of me, and he kept motioning me to push him because I think he wanted to pit. So he wanted me to clear him so he could get low. I think he was able to. I was not. My team was screaming at me like, we're almost out of fuel. So I actually, if you watch, during that SVG wreck to pit lane, I was up on the wall and had to pull down. I had to go to the back of the pack. So even though I drove all the way to the front, we were going to run out of gas. So he says, you have to pit now. And I'm at I am trying to get out of the way. I'm up by the wall off of turn 4, trying to let everyone go so I can pull down and pit. And it was a cluster. I don't know what else to say. I pulled down 8 lanes, turned left, and hoped that nobody wiped me out on the way to pit lane. But luckily, that was when the SVG thing happened, and it actually worked out.
2 other incidents in this race. AJ Allmendinger in that wreck that involved Chase Elliott gets the wind knocked out of him, and then the car catches on fire.
Yeah, I saw what happened, but I didn't know what happened to AJ. But I guess he did say that the wind got knocked out of him on that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
and then the smoke. And then the smoke. Yeah. So my guess is that's probably not a good combination. So
and apparently it took like 40 seconds or something for them to get to him. So the people are a little critical of that.
Now, I understand that, but I don't know whether did he keep driving is my question. Like sometimes it's hard for them to get to you if you are still moving because you're now a moving target versus just wherever you crash, just stop. So it usually does take more time. And I saw that he was nearly the entrance of pit lane. That's definitely not where he crashed. So
yeah, the videos I'm watching is him getting out of the car and then he just lays on the ground.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get to him. Yeah,
that was a tough one that caught up Chase Elliott amongst, some others, but he was the most notable because he was in the points fight. Just wrong place, wrong time. I looked at Chase's in car and it's just like, I mean, what do you do? It's just the Talladega gods motioned you at this time, and there's not really anything he could have done about it.
Another incident, not sure if you saw a replay of this or not, but the 21 car is on the jack on pit road, and there's a crew guy in and under the right rear wheel well. And then the 10 car pulls out of his box, running over or into a tire that's sitting there. Just a safety issue here.
Yeah, it's certainly, I mean, it doesn't look good, but I'll try to give the benefit of the doubt. I never think that anyone has ill intentions to screw anyone else over or hurt someone. In my opinion, if everyone had to do it over again, Ty Dillon was just backed up. I don't know, where he was in the pack at that time. Was he fighting for track position to try to get off a pit lane as quick as he could? It looked like to me that the 10 was first too deep in his box. If you look at the replay of when he did pit, it appeared he was, and he wasn't going around anyone that I saw. He went too deep in his box. Well, then, the 21 is sitting there. I guess they're working on his car. And so he doesn't want to have to back up, go back forward, and then lose probably another 5 positions that you'll lose by having to do that. So he tries to squeak out of there. And I've done that before where I'm trying to squeak out of there. Now, I would say if I'm Ty Dillon, this is the part where I try to rationale with his thinking is that does he even see that there's someone working on the car? Like I'm telling you in the car, you can't see anything below a certain level. When you're looking out the windshield, you can't see a tire sitting on the ground. You certainly can't see a person on the ground. I don't know that he saw that. I think that he just said, well, if I can clear the bumper of the 21, then I'm all good. But unfortunately, someone was sitting there with a tire right behind them and knocked the tire into the guy. So, yeah, it certainly looked bad.
Is that on the crew chief to be like, hey?
I was about to ask, is there, in a situation like this, is there anyone spotting the pit boxes around you, being like, hey, heads up, there's a guy under the car?
I think they would normally tell me that the 21 will be in his pit stall. They're working on their car.
That's it, though.
That's it. That's all they would say to me. But if you're Ty Dillon, what that means is that you got to back him up. So wherever he chooses to come in into his pit stall, move the sign back, allow him room to get out without cutting it close. But it certainly he had a lot of his car in their pit box on exit.
Austin Hill wins the Xfinity race.
Who saw that coming?
I did.
I did. Me and Jared. Hey, here's the good news. Here's not all is lost. I did get a text from someone in sales at JGR saying just making sure that you're still wanting to run an Xfinity race at Daytona. I said, yes, please. So if you are a company, I'm looking for a 1 race sponsorship for Daytona in the Xfinity Series.
Ohio State, pick up the phone. You need an Ohio State car.
Come on, man. It's frustrating, and it's not Austin Hill's fault because I'm watching the drivers behind him, and they just cannot get organized enough to create a run. And when they do create a run, they allow him to block, and then they just lift. And so it's painful to watch, but his car is better than everyone else's, and he is better than everyone else. And it's not his fault. So he's going to continue to win these things as long as these Xfinity drivers don't learn from their mistakes and figure out how to create a run. And it's not always the second place driver's fault. Sometimes it's the third place, because what the third place driver does, and I've seen this multiple times now, and Jared, you brought it up in the bus, is that even when the second place driver, and Xfinity drivers, I'm trying to help you out here. Even when the second place driver starts to back up to the third place pulls out of line and then starts racing the second place guy. And it's like, you will not win that way. You're now giving the win to whoever is currently leading. You need to push third place Xfinity drivers. You need to push the second place guy beside the 21. And then you have options. You have the option to either continue to follow them, go 3 wide, or you've got the option of these two are going to get together and I'm going to go sweeping by on the inside and win this race. So the problem doesn't necessarily lie always with the second place driver in the Xfinity Series. It does in the third and fourth, because they're so caught up in racing each other instead of creating a run to win the race. That's where they got to get better. And listen, names are made here. Most of them haven't been here a long time, and they are learning. But that's how I see Austin Hill as an unstoppable force in the Xfinity Series, is that he knows how to get to the front. Now, his car, I think information in the insiders would tell you his cars, his engines and such are definitely faster than everyone else's. But he knows what to do, and nobody else does.
Yeah. Yeah, it just takes a collective group. Once he gets the lead, it takes a couple people to have to get together to pass him, not just like one or two people. Yeah. And now, listen, if I ran an Xfinity race and I were second to Austin Hill, we might have the same result, because whenever I start to back up to third, they're likely to just pass me, or try to pass versus creating a run. But you never know. I'd love a shot at it, and not just because of Austin Hill. I want to, because it looks really, really fun. Those Xfinity cars have a bubble behind them that is larger than what the Cup cars are. So you create runs. There's more space between the cars, and so there's opportunities to make runs, build a run, take the run, get back in line. There's space to do that, where if you look at the Cup cars, we're all just 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 by 2, and we're all just hitting each other trying to get our line to go, where Xfinity cars has much more space, and that's more like what Super Speedway used to be in the Cup Series. Gio Ruggiero gets his first win, winning the truck race at Talladega.
What'd you say, Travis? Someone named...
A guy not named Corey Heim.
He came close.
Congrats, but...
He came close. Great win for him. He's kind of been like, I don't know, the second in line at Tricon as far as like performance wise. I think that's probably fair to say. It kind of depends on who's on the one truck on any given week, but awesome for David Gilliland and all the work that whole Tricon team has put together. They're killing it. Toyota's won a bunch of races. Surely they've won the manufacturers. I don't even know if there is a manufacturers in trucks, but they continue to put out race-winning trucks. It was a great race to the end. Corey, I thought, was going to get to the outside of them, but just it almost looked like to me Corey was like, second's okay. Like, if I go up and he blocks and we crash, like, I just felt like he was resigned to the fact that, like, all right, I'm going to push here, and then if I see a blindly obvious move, I'm going to take it. But if not, this is where I'm going to finish.
Resign to the fact that I've won 10 races this year, and
We'll let the guy
I'll push you to a win.
Yeah. And a side note in Xfinity, I guess Connor Zelich's streak got broke, right? Of like top 5s, top 2s, or something like that.
The kid's going nowhere in life.
I know. What a failure.
Speaking of Martinsville coming up, what's this week like for specifically the Cup drivers, but any of the ones that are below that cut line, like or you're above, but you're not safe? Like, what's this week like for a driver?
Yeah. I think so the week for Elliott, Blaney, Logano, and Byron is 100% every waking minute of this week is focused on Martinsville and doing everything you can. You're trying to find any slither of information that maybe you haven't turned over in the past that is going to make the difference in you winning this race or not. There is no Phoenix for them. You got to think that, especially Penske, they don't have anyone that's borderline in. So at least the Byron and Elliott have Larson that's probably doing some Phoenix work, which is, I mean, truthfully for me, it's probably less of an advantage now for me winning that first race in Las Vegas, because now I've got one that's locked in, and then 2 that are virtually if those other guys don't win. So what I'm saying is the advantage of winning the first and being able to work an extra time that others don't is not as much, because there's no doubt that the Bell and Larsons are working on Phoenix this week. Just simply because of their points position. They're not having to go all out, all in on Martinsville.
Really?
I don't think so.
But they got to be better than each other at Martinsville. I mean, it's very, very much likely that Elliott or Blaney or Byron could win at Martinsville. So if you're
saying it's more likely than not, that the odds would not agree with you.
I know what the odds would say, but we've just seen it so many times here.
It'd be interesting. That's a very good hypothetical that I would love to see. Does someone, so you get Byron, Logano, Blaney, and Elliott versus the field.
I hope the odds come out with that. I would love to see that number.
My guess is it's probably Byron, Logano, Blaney, Elliott versus the field. I mean, I still think you're getting plus money on that. Like, I still think that the favorite, I don't know. It's close. It's close. I still think it's more unlikely than not. But it's close.
Just based on the fact that there's 40 cars in the race, yeah.
Yeah, but there's not 40 cars that can win.
A few out.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, are we going to see a surprise winner? I don't know, Todd Gill. No, we're not. We're not going to see a surprise winner. It's going to be the cream of the crop. These 8 guys are going to be up towards the front.
I just think if you're the 20 team and the 5 team, you got to make sure that you're better than the other car, because you don't want to be 4th in the standings.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But I can tell you, they're not working on Martinsville as much as those bottom 4. I don't think there's any way.
Sure. Well, those bottom 4 have to win. Absolutely.
Yeah.
On a scale of 0 being no issues and 10 being absolute show, what do we see from the Xfinity cars?
Can someone give me the points for that?
I'm just talking about how they race. Forget
what do you mean? Is trucks theirs too?
Yeah, we got.
I mean, what the
for the Xfinity series, Zilich is already through. Allgaier's already through. Jesse Love is plus 40. Carson Quapple's plus 11. Sammy Smith is minus 11. Brandon Jones minus 20. Sam Mayer minus 22. And Sheldon Creed's got to win.
It's always a show, Trav. I don't know what to tell you. There's going to be a caution with 20 to go, And then it's just going to be caution after caution after caution. And everyone's going to be shoving each other into the corner. Just, yeah, no regard. I love to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I think we've seen enough.
They've lost that.
Yeah.
And if that Xfinity series point situation didn't do it for you, the truck series, Corey Heim is obviously through. Raja Karuth, plus 14. Tyler Ankrum.
Raja's second.
Plus 8. Caden Honeycutt, plus 5. Ty Majeski, minus 5. Lane Riggs, minus 6. Daniel Hemrick's probably must win, at minus 32. And Grant Enfinger.
I will be tuned in.
So that one's close.
I'm tuned into FS1 on, is that Friday night?
Friday night.
Oh, yes. Show engaged. Oh, that one's got all the elements just primed for a show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who do you like in the Cup race at Martinsville? Other than yourself. You can't pick yourself.
God bless.
Who would you be least surprised to see win this race?
The easy answer is Ryan Blaney because he's done it before. I'm going to say William Byron. I think William has the potential to go set on the pole and dominate the race. And it becomes execution at that point. But then I put Chase Elliott right 1A, 1B. Who are my least surprised? Blaney. Who would I not be surprised? Byron and Elliott. I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but I'm telling you, 3 of the favorites are freaking 5th, 7th, and 8th.
When it comes to needing
certainly 3 of the top 5 favorites. You gotta think.
Yeah, for sure. When it comes to needing to have to win a race, we have to win this race to move on to Phoenix. Where does Martinsville rank in all of the Cup Series tracks? It's like, if we got to do that, I want to go and do it. I want to be racing there. If you have to win a race, you're not going to want to have to go to Talladega and do that. Mm-hmm. Where's Martinsville?
I think it's a fair indicator of strength of team and driver. Yeah, I do. Now, it's got a little bit more variability because of, sometimes the restarts can get out of control. It depends on how many of these guys are up front in the first couple rows. If we do have a restart inside, 20, 30 laps. But I think it's a fair indicator of strength of car and driver. So it's good. No issues there.
A few off-track news here. Justin Haley out at Spire going into 2026.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Justin. He was running so well in that Rick Ware car. And obviously got the call up, got traded to Spire for Corey LaJoie. They switched rides. But just never, I don't know, it just
never clicked.
It just never clicked. And they had Rodney Childers at the beginning of the year. And I don't know, it'd be interesting from a statistical standpoint of, I know when Spire got rid of Rodney, I think I saw a few mentions of, look at the results. He is better. That team is better than it was before. But they chose to get rid of him, and it just, I don't know, I just never saw enough out of the 7 that I was seeing in the 77 or the 71. And so I don't know the reason for that. I don't know the company enough to know the strengths and weaknesses. Is it leadership? Is it engineering? Is it the pit crews far worse? Or is the driver not as good as the drivers the other 2? I don't know. So for me, it would all be speculation, and I don't really care to throw anyone under the bus, but certainly you can't argue that the results were not there for whatever the reason were.
Jim Pullman to RCR to crew chief Kyle Busch in 2026.
I think that's probably the best option they could get, right? I think that it's good to see some of these crew chiefs getting the call up to the Cup Series. We did it getting Charles Denike from the 19 truck last year and putting him on the 23 this year with no Cup experience whatsoever. I guess Jim did have a role at RCR at one point, correct, guys?
And I think he even was doing something when the next gen was coming in with them. So, like, he's got at least some experience, not obviously crew chiefing, but...
Yeah, and that's some of the reason we recruited Billy Scott so much for the 45 back in the day, was that, you know, he knew the next gen car. He was part of the development when he was at RCR. He helped NASCAR with the development of the next gen car. So we thought we'd get a leg up by having someone who was familiar. Now, enough time has gone by in the next gen era that, like, I don't know that Jim's going to know anything more.
His title at RCR before was head of research and development.
Yeah, so he probably, more than likely, he worked with Billy Scott at some point on the development of the next gen car. Now, like I said, enough time has gone by to where I don't think that there's an advantage, but maybe it's just a fresh set of eyes, right? I like that RCR is hiring out of the company versus promoting someone. More than likely, if someone was really, really good within the shop, their cars would be running better, right? And so bring in a new set of eyes that hasn't seen this thing for a while. Maybe he can come up with something to where, why aren't you guys looking at Y versus X? You know what I mean? I think that there's advantages to doing that, and that is the advantage of hiring from the outside. Is it's very, very difficult when you're within a company for such a long period of time to not just morph your ideas into the same over time. So hopefully it gets Kyle Busch the performance jump that he's looking for.
And lastly, the boos were back at driver intros this week.
I didn't think they were as bad, were they? You were there. I mean,
they were, I don't know, they were noteworthy. Yeah. Jeff tweeted about them.
But it's also because we just saw the previous week where there was none. So it's like, all right, the fans are like, all right, we gave you your flowers. Now, you, Daddy.
It's okay.
And I think that has to probably feel a little good, right? To like,
no, it's fine. It's all good. As long as there's not silence, that would be the worst.
See, that would be funny if the fans could somehow get together and just you come out and there's just crickets.
Really? That would hurt my feelings.
That would just be funny for 1 week.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get organized enough to do that. No, it's. I thought it was fine. I didn't notice anything. I thought it was 60-40. Cheers, where it's usually 40-60, or maybe 70-30. I don't know. I don't mean to understate it, but go ahead.
I got a review here from Hugh Sprague. This old racing fan totally enjoyed the badass way you won this race, accompanied by the display of emotions in the moment, referring to Las Vegas last week. I was pissed my guy had to finish second, but such is life in racing and straight up competition. Hell, you had me pulling for you to win the championship and get a 60-plus wins.
Appreciate that. Thank you for that review. We appreciate you tuning in, and yeah, it's Vegas. I don't know. That was just it just was a super gratifying one for me, no doubt about it. But it is in the past. We got to look forward and got 2 more weeks to get this thing done. So appreciate that, and I guess we'll see you guys after Martinsville.